Have you ever reached noon and realized you never truly arrived in your own day? Have you ever wondered why your mornings feel like a race even when nothing is chasing you? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to step into something very practical, very human, and surprisingly deep. Morning habits that create peace. Not the kind of peace that depends on perfect weather or perfect people, but the kind of peace that comes from awakening your awareness, shaping your intention, and living with compassion and wisdom. I want to start by telling you a story, because most of us do not change through advice. We change through recognition. We hear a life that sounds like ours, and something inside finally says, I am not alone, and maybe there is a way through. There was someone I will call Jonah. Jonah was not lazy. Jonah was not careless. Jonah was the kind of person who tried hard. The problem was that trying hard did not feel like living. It felt like bracing. Every morning Jonah woke up as if the day were a test already being graded. Eyes open, heart tight, thoughts loud. Jonah had a routine, but it was a routine built for survival, not for peace. Alarm, phone, news, messages, work. A quit bite while scrolling. I rush out the door. Then the day would begin with the mind already overheating, already hungry for control, already thirsty for validation, already ready to fight reality. If you asked Jonah how life was going, Jonah would say, fine, busy. But the word busy was a blanket thrown over a deeper truth. Jonah felt like the mind was never resting. Even in quiet moments, the mind rehearsed. What if this goes wrong? What if they misunderstand me? What if I fail? What if I never catch up? One day Jonah had a morning that looked normal from the outside but felt like a breaking point inside. The alarm rang. Jonah hit snooze too many times. Then panic started. Jonah grabbed the phone and immediately saw a message that sounded urgent. Then, a headline that sounded threatening. Then a photo that triggered comparison. Jonah had not even put feet on the floor and already felt behind. Already felt small. Already felt tense. In the kitchen, Jonah spilled coffee. It was not a big spill, but it was the last drop in a full cup. Jonah stood there staring at the coffee spreading like a dark stain and suddenly felt something rise that was not really about coffee. It was grief, a quiet grief for how harsh the mind had become, a grief for how many mornings had been sacrificed to anxiety. Jonah whispered to nobody, I cannot keep waking up like this. That day after work, Jonah took a longer route home and passed a small community space with a simple sign about meditation and Buddhist teachings. Jonah did not consider himself religious. Jonah was not searching for a new identity. Jonah just wanted the inside of the mind to stop feeling like a crowded room. Jonah went in, not with confidence, but with fatigue. Inside, the air felt different, not magical, just slower. There were a few cushions, a few chairs, a shelf with books, and a kettle. An older woman named May greeted Jonah with the kind of calm that does not demand anything from you. Jonah said, I do not know why I came. I just do not feel peaceful anymore. May nodded, as if she had heard that exact sentence from 1,000 different lives. She said, peace is not something you earn at the end of a perfect life. Peace is something you practice in the middle of an imperfect one. Sit down. Breathe with me for a moment. Jonah sat. May guided a simple breathing practice. Not control, just awareness. Feel the inhale. Feel the exhale. Notice the mind wandering. Return without anger. At first Jonah felt embarrassed because the mind could not stay still. May smiled and said, Do not judge the wandering. The wandering is the beginning of honesty. You are finally seeing what your mind does when you are not distracting it. After a few minutes, Jonah felt a small shift, not happiness like excitement, but relief like a tightened fist loosening. May said, "If you want peace in your life, begin with your mornings. The morning is when the mind is most impressionable. It is also when you plant the seeds that grow into your day." Jonah asked, "What should I do in the morning? I have tried routines. They never stick." May said, "That is because you tried to force the surface without touching the root. Buddhist practice begins at the root. Intention, awareness, compassion, wisdom. When the root changes, habits become natural. When the root stays the same, habits feel like punishment." Jonah leaned forward. May continued, "I will share 6 morning habits, but you must understand them as a path, not as a checklist. Do not do them perfectly. Do them sincerely. A sincere practice is stronger than a perfect performance." Jonah returned the next morning. The sky outside looked the same, but Jonah felt as if something important might begin. May poured tea and said, "Before habits, remember this. The mind is like a garden. Whatever you water grows. Most people water worry the moment they wake up. Then they wonder why the day tastes bitter. We will water something else." The first habit May offered was a habit of arrival, not a big ritual, just a simple act of coming home to the body before the mind runs away. May asked Jonah to do something that sounded almost too small to matter. When you wake up, do not reach for the phone. Sit up. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the weight of your body. Take 3 natural breaths and silently say, "I am here." Jonah almost laughed. 3 breaths. That is it. May said, 3 breaths is not nothing. 3 breaths is the difference between living on autopilot and living with awareness. The Buddha did not teach complicated magic. He taught awakening. Awakening begins when you stop sleepwalking through your own life. Jonah tried it the next day. The alarm rang. The hand reached for the phone automatically. Jonah paused, as if catching a hand in the act. Jonah sat up, feet on the floor. 3 breaths. I am here. The mind still wanted to rush, but the body felt slightly more grounded. The day did not change, but Jonah had changed the first moment of the day, and that first moment shaped the next. May explained why this matters. The mind often lives into illusions, the past and the future, regret and worry. When you begin the morning with arrival, you train the mind to live in reality. Reality is the only place you can practice wisdom. The second habit May offered was gentle intention. May said, most people wake up and ask the mind, "What do I need to do?" That question is not wrong, but it often becomes a whip. Try a different question. Who do I want to be today? Not as an image, but as a quality. May asked Jonah to choose one quality each morning. A quality rooted in Dharma, compassion, patience, honesty, humility, courage, equanimity. Choose one, not 6, and let it be your North Star. Jonah asked, "What if I choose compassion and then I get angry anyway?" May smiled, "That will happen. You are human. The purpose is not to become a statue. The purpose is to notice sooner, return sooner, repair sooner. Intention is not a guarantee. Intention is a direction." Jonah tried this. One morning, Jonah chose patience. Another morning, Jonah chose compassion. Another morning, Jonah chose clarity. It felt strange, like learning a new language. But slowly Jonah realized that an intention is like tuning an instrument. The day still contains noise, but your inner tone becomes steadier. May added something important. Do not choose an intention to impress your ego. Choose an intention to reduce suffering. Buddhism is always about reducing suffering, for you and for others. The third habit May offered was mindful simplicity. May said, "Your mind becomes agitated because you feed it too much too fast." Many mornings begin with information overload. Messages, headlines, arguments, comparisons. Before you have met your own breath, you meet the whole world. That is not wisdom. That is invasion. May invited Jonah to create a small pocket of silence before consuming anything digital. Not forever, just a sacred window. May did not use the word sacred as a religious demand. She used it as a reminder that your attention is precious. She said, "Give the first part of your morning to your own mind, not to the loudest voices on the internet. If you want peace, stop offering your nervous system to chaos as breakfast." Jonah tried. It was difficult at first. The phone felt like a magnet. Jonah wanted the quick hit of novelty. May had warned about this. Craving is not only craving for pleasure. Craving can be craving for stimulation. The mind thinks stimulation is alevines, but often it is just distraction. With practice, Jonah found that a quiet morning made the mind less hungry. Jonah still used the phone later, but the phone no longer decided the emotional temperature of the whole day. May explained this in Buddhist terms. When you begin with simplicity, you are practicing non-attachment. You are telling the mind, "I do not need to cling to constant input to feel okay." That is a powerful liberation. The fourth habit May offered was a compassion practice, but not the kind that feels forced. She taught Jonah a short loving kindness reflection. It began with the self, not because Buddhism encourages selfishness, but because without self-compassion, compassion for others becomes performance or resentment. May asked Jonah to place a hand on the chest after those first breaths and silently offer a few phrases. May I be safe. May I be steady. May I be kind. May I be free from unnecessary suffering. Then, may others be safe. May others be steady. May others be kind. May others be free from unnecessary suffering. Jonah felt resistance. It sounded soft. Jonah had been trained to be tough. May noticed the resistance and said, "Toughness without tenderness is just another prison." Compassion is not weakness. Compassion is strength without hatred. Jonah tried it for a week. At first it felt awkward. Then something surprising happened. Jonah began to speak to the self with less cruelty. When mistakes happened, Jonah still felt regret, but not the old self-disgust. May explained, "The way you speak to yourself is karma. Your inner speech creates inner weather. If your inner voice is harsh, your life will feel harsh, even when things are fine. When your inner voice becomes kinder, your life becomes lighter, even when things are difficult." This compassion practice also changed how Jonah met other people. Jonah became less reactive in traffic, less sharp in conversations, less eager to win arguments. Not because Jonah became passive, but because Jonah was no longer starving for control. The fifth habit May offered was a wisdom reflection on impermanence and cause and effect. May said, "Every morning you wake up into change. Your body is changing. Your mind is changing. Your relationships are changing. Your life is changing. If you forget impermanence, you will cling. If you cling, you will suffer." She taught Jonah a simple contemplation. One sentence spoken quietly in the morning. "This will change." At first Jonah interpreted it as pessimistic. May corrected that. This will change is not a threat. It is a truth that frees you. The pleasant will change, so cherish it. The unpleasant will change, so do not panic. Your mood will change, so do not worship it. Your problems will change, so do not treat them as permanent identity. Then may paired impermanence with karma in a grounded way. She asked Jonah to remember one more sentence: "What I nourish grows." Together these two reflections became a powerful morning compass. This will change, and what I nourish grows. Jonah began to see that the day is not only something that happens to you. The day is also something you shape through your attention and choices. Not total control, but real influence. One morning Jonah woke up anxious and remembered, "This will change." Instead of panicking, Jonah breathed. Anxiety was still there, but it was not treated like an unchangeable fate. Jonah remembered, "What I nourish grows." If Jonah nourished the anxiety with endless thinking, it would grow. If Jonah nourished steadiness with breath and presence, steadiness would grow. This is how Buddhist wisdom becomes daily practice, not a philosophy on a shelf, but a living guide inside your own nervous system. The sixth habit May offered was embodied mindful movement, a gentle practice that connects awareness to the body. May said, "Many people carry stress as frozen energy. The mind races, the body stiffens, and then the mind interprets the stiffness as danger. The cycle continues." She did not demand a long workout. She suggested a short mindful movement, even 5 minutes, but done with awareness. Slow stretching, walking, or simple standing posture while feeling the breath. The key was not the exercise. The key was attention. May said, "When you move with mindfulness, you teach your mind that it can stay with the present. You also teach your body that it is safe enough to soften. This is compassion in physical form." Jonah tried a simple walking practice in the morning. No music, no phone, just walking and noticing the contact of feet on the ground, the rhythm of breath, the sensation of cool air. The mind wandered, and Jonah returned, again and again. After a few weeks, Jonah noticed something. The day still contained stressors, but Jonah no longer started the day with the body already braced. The shoulders dropped sooner. The breath deepened sooner. The inner space became easier to access. May listened to Jonah describe these changes and said, "You are learning something important. Peace is not a mood. Peace is a skill. Peace is what happens when awareness, intention, and compassion work together." Now, you might be thinking, "That sounds good, but my morning is chaotic. I have school. I have work. I have family responsibilities. I have little time." So let me speak to you in a way that respects your reality. These habits are not meant to add pressure. They are meant to remove pressure. You do not need a perfect morning to practice. You only need a moment of sincerity. You can arrive in 3 breaths while still lying in bed. You can set intention while brushing your teeth. You can practice simplicity by delaying the phone for a few minutes. You can offer compassion while making coffee. You can remember impermanence while looking out a window. You can move mindfully while walking to the bus or pacing your room. The outer shape can be small. The inner quality is what matters. Jonah asked me something important. "What if I do these habits and still feel anxious?" May answered, "Then you practice with the anxiety, not against it." Buddhism does not require you to erase emotions. Buddhism teaches you to relate wisely to emotions. Anxiety is an experience, not your identity. You are the awareness that knows anxiety. When you remember that, you suffer less. Jonah said, "But my mind keeps producing negative thoughts." May said, "The mind produces thoughts the way the mouth produces saliva. It is not personal. What becomes personal is when you believe every thought In meditation, you learn to see thoughts as passing events. In daily life, you learn to choose which thoughts you nourish. Jonah began to practice this. When a harsh thought appeared in the morning, Jonah did not argue with it for an hour. Jonah labeled it quietly, judging thought, fear thought, comparing thought, planning thought. Then Jonah returned to the breath or to intention. Over time, the thoughts still came, but they lost some authority. They became background noise instead of commandments. That shift alone brought a feeling of freedom that Jonah had not known was possible. May explained this is awakening in everyday life. Awakening does not mean never having fear. Awakening means not being owned by fear. Awakening means seeing clearly, choosing wisely, and responding with compassion. Let me tell you about a day when Jonah truly understood the power of these morning habits. One morning, Jonah woke up to bad news. A family situation had become complicated. A message came early, and it carried tension. The old Jonah would have reacted immediately, typed quickly, spiraled mentally, and then carried the emotional fire through the entire day. But Jonah had practiced, not perfectly, but consistently. Jonah sat up and did the first habit, arrival, 3 breaths. I am here. Jonah felt the surge of anxiety in the chest. Jonah did not pretend it was not there. Jonah met reality as it was. Then Jonah set an intention, not a fantasy. Jonah chose steadiness. Jonah practiced simplicity by not opening every app, not consuming more noise. Jonah stayed with what mattered. Then Jonah placed a hand on the chest and offered compassion. May I be steady. May others be steady. This did not make the situation easy, but it's often the inner war. Jonah remembered impermanence. This will change. And remembered karma. What I nourish grows. Jonah chose not to nourish panic. Jonah chose to nourish clarity. Then Jonah took a short mindful walk, feeling feet on the ground, allowing the nervous system to settle. After this, Jonah responded to the message with calmer words. The response did not solve everything, but it prevented extra harm. Later, Jonah realized that the morning practice had changed the entire trajectory of the day. This is why mornings matter, not because the morning is special in a mystical way, but because the morning is where momentum begins. Momentum can carry you into suffering or carry you into wisdom. Now, I want to share a deeper layer, because Buddhist teachings always have layers. The arrival practice is mindfulness. It is the beginning of right concentration. It trains attention to stay. The intention practice is right intention. It aligns your day with ethics and compassion. The simplicity practice is non-attachment. It weakens craving and restlessness. The compassion practice is loving kindness and the cultivation of the awakened heart. The impermanence and karma reflection is wisdom, seeing reality clearly and living in harmony with cause and effect. The mindful movement practice is embodiment, bringing the Dharma into the muscles and breath, not just into ideas. When these 6 habits become part of your morning, you are not just building a routine, you are training a way of being. You might notice that the themes keep repeating: awareness, wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, destiny. That is not an accident. In Buddhism, destiny is not a fixed script. Destiny is shaped by repeated choices. Your repeated choices become habits. Habits become character. Character becomes the direction of your life. So when you change your mornings, you are not only improving your mood, you are shaping your path. Jonah continued practicing for months. Some mornings were smooth. Some mornings were messy. The practice did not remove life. It transformed Jonah's relationship with life. One day, Jonah met a friend named Leela for breakfast. Leela looked exhausted and complained about waking up anxious every day. Jonah listened and recognized the old self in Leela's words. Jonah did not preach. Jonah just shared one small thing. Jonah said, "Tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone, take 3 breaths and say, 'I am here.' Just try that." Leela laughed and said, "That cannot change anything." Jonah smiled. "It will not change everything. It will change one moment. And one moment can change the next." A week later, Leela texted Jonah and said, "It is weird, but the 3 breaths help. I still feel stressed, but I feel less trapped." This is how practice spreads, not through pressure, but through lived benefit. Now, I want to speak to you directly in a way that might feel personal, because the most important part of this video is not Jonah's story. It is your morning tomorrow. When you wake up, your mind will offer you a familiar identity. It might say you are behind. It might say you are not enough. It might say the world is dangerous. It might say you must control everything. You do not have to accept the first offer. You can pause. You can arrive. You can choose intention. You can simplify. You can cultivate compassion. You can remember impermanence and karma. You can move mindfully. And when you do, you will start noticing a new kind of happiness. Not the loud happiness of winning. The quiet happiness of not being at war. The quiet happiness of feeling aligned. The quiet happiness of being able to breathe. Some people hear this and worry. It means becoming passive. It does not. Peace is not passivity. Peace is clarity. When you are peaceful, you see better. When you see better, you act better. When you act better, you create better results without creating extra suffering. If you are someone who struggles with overthinking, these habits will help you return to the body and breath, which is where overthinking loses oxygen. If you are someone who struggles with anger, these habits will help you create a pause, which is where anger loses momentum. If you are someone who struggles with sadness, these habits will help you hold sadness with kindness instead of turning it into self-hatred. If you are someone who struggles with fear, these habits will help you meet fear as a visitor, not a ruler. And if you are someone who thinks you are too busy for this, remember, you are too busy not to. A mind without peace will waste more time than any 5-minute practice ever could. Let me share another scene from Jonah's life, because it captures the essence of these teachings. One morning, Jonah overslept. Everything felt rushed. The mind started shouting, "You ruined the day. You will be late. You are irresponsible." Jonah felt the old panic rise. Then Jonah remembered what May said. Practice is returning, not performing. Jonah took one breath, just one, and said, "I am here." That was arrival in a messy morning. Jonah chose an intention, patience, even while rushing. Jonah kept the phone in the pocket while getting dressed. A small simplicity. Jonah offered one phrase of compassion, "May I be gentle and brave." Jonah remembered impermanence. This will change. And karma, what I nourish grows. And chose not to nourish self-attack. Jonah walked briskly but mindfully to the door, feeling feet, feeling breath, moving with awareness for 20 seconds. That day Jonah was late, but Jonah was not destroyed. Jonah apologized without drama, corrected the schedule, and moved on. The difference was not the clock. The difference was the heart. This is an important lesson. Peace is not the absence of mistakes. Peace is the absence of self-cruelty around mistakes. Now we come to the part where I offer a broader reflection. Because stories are meant to echo, Many people think their life will finally be peaceful when their circumstances improve, when they get more money, when they get more recognition, when they move to a new place, when they find the right relationship, when they fix their body, when the world becomes calmer. But the Buddha taught that craving for the perfect condition is itself a cause of suffering. If your peace depends on conditions, your peace will always be fragile. That is why these morning habits are so powerful. They teach you to build peace from the inside, so you can carry it into changing conditions. This does not mean you stop improving your life. It means you stop postponing your peace. You improve your life with a steady heart, not with desperation. I have seen this in people around me. Someone who began practicing simple morning mindfulness became less reactive, and suddenly relationships improved, not because others changed, but because that person stopped throwing fuel on fires. Someone who began practicing compassion in the morning stopped sabotaging themselves with harsh inner speech, and their confidence grew naturally. Someone who began remembering impermanence stopped panicking about every setback, and their resilience became real. These are not miracles. They are cause and effect. They are karma in the most practical sense. Now I want to end in a way that invites you into your own story. Tomorrow morning, what will you water first? Worry or wisdom? Comparison or compassion? Resistance or acceptance? Craving or clarity? Your morning is not just a start. It is a vote. A vote for the kind of mind you want to live in. A vote for the kind of heart you want to carry. A vote for the kind of destiny you want to shape through repeated choices. I would love to hear from you. Which part of your morning currently steals your peace the most? Is it the phone? Is it rushing? Is it negative self-talk? Is it fear of the day? Share what you are willing to share in the comments. And if you have a small morning practice that helps you, share that too, because someone reading might need exactly what you have learned. If you want more calm teachings and practical Buddhist wisdom for daily life, subscribe to the channel. Like the video so it reaches people who are tired of living inside a noisy mind. And if you want to support the channel in a deeper way, consider becoming a member so we can keep creating long-form guidance you can return to whenever you need steadiness. Until next time, arrive gently, choose intention wisely, live simply, practice compassion, remember impermanence, plant good seeds, and keep walking the path of awakening one morning at a time.